of federal judges decided to keep Mayor Adams' federal corruption case alive for now. Judge Dale Ho ordered an outside attorney to argue the motion over whether the mayor's case should be dismissed. That attorney will be longtime Supreme Court practitioner and former Solicitor General Paul Clement. In the meantime, the mayor's trial, which was scheduled for mid-April, is off the calendar indefinitely.
We have team coverage. Alice Gaynor will break down the decision. Let's begin with political reporter Marcia Kramer, who just returned from Gracie Mansion, where she spoke to the mayor about today's decision and also those sanctions that the governor talked about yesterday. Marcia?
Well, Christine and Dick, Mayor Adams walked into our interview telling me he was determined to show grace under fire. So in addition to grace, he showed a lot of fire when talking about Governor Hochul's decision to erect guardrails to curtail his authority. He said she was limiting the power of the people who elected him mayor.
There was no legal reason to do so, and we should be very careful when different branches of government remove powers from the people of the city. The people of the city said we want Eric Adams to be our mayor, and Eric Adams should continue to do the job of being our mayor.
Mayor Adams on the attack, brushing aside questions of confidence and divided loyalty, whether he agreed to a quid pro quo with the Trump administration in exchange for his federal charges being dismissed. This in the face of pointed criticism from people like the Reverend Al Sharpton and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. They questioned whether he made a deal with the devil. So when Hakeem Jeffries says that Trump has you on a leash, what's your response?
Well, he hasn't shared that with me, and anyone that knows me from my days of being a police officer, fighting for reform while I was a police officer in the department, anyone that knows me knows that there is no leash that can fit around my neck.
The mayor was unperturbed about the decision by Judge Dale Ho to hear further testimony before deciding whether to grant a motion to drop the criminal charges against him. The judge appointed an attorney to make the case that there should be a special prosecutor to continue investigating the case.
It's part of the process. The wheels of justice, they grind slow but exceedingly fine.
I asked the mayor what he wanted to say to the people of New York, the voters, who may view him as a mayor under fire.
Well, New Yorkers are dealing with crisis all the time, and they should want a mayor that could face crises and still govern. That's what New York is.
Now, I asked the mayor how he was sleeping. He said he sleeps well and then joked, saying John McCain was once asked the same question and said he sleeps like a baby who sleeps for an hour, wakes up and cries, sleeps for an hour, wakes up and cries. I asked the mayor if he had that problem, and he said, no, he doesn't. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, Marcia, watching your interview, you got the feeling there was his strategy is scorched earth, all in. Is this bravado, or is this a strategy going forward for re-election?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, he does have bravado, as you remember when he said he was at first mayor, he was going to introduce swagger to the city. But I also think that he thinks that he has to do this to appeal to his base so that he can run for re-election. And by the way, he does plan to run for re-election.
All right, Marcia, keep adding more chapters. Thank you. For more now on the judge's order, let's turn to Alice Gaynor. She was actually in court for that hearing.
Alice, the judge indicated something like this might happen. He gave a little tea leave there.
That's right. Towards the end of the hearing the other day, he made several comments which led us to believe something like this might happen. Basically, he had pointed out that the Supreme Court, when there's no one to defend the other side, they will hear from someone else to make sure they're considering everything. And the other day, we only heard essentially the one side of things, which was Adams' attorney and the DOJ arguing to dismiss. The judge asked them how they felt about what's called friends of the court providing expertise or legal submissions. Deputy Attorney General Emil Bovee didn't think this would aid in the matter. Adams' attorney thought any parties outside the case created a problem. The judge in his order said he considered their views, but thinks this appointment is appropriate in light of the public importance of this case. He wrote, quote, "Normally, courts are aided in their decision-making through our system of adversarial testing, which can be particularly helpful in cases presenting unusual fact patterns or in cases of great public importance." The judge also noted that here there has been no adversarial testing of the government's position.
And, you know, Alice, Dick pointed out that the judge didn't appoint an outside attorney. His name is Paul Clement, a political conservative. He will now present arguments on this motion. What more have you been able to find find out about him.
Now, you just made an important point there, conservative, because of course this case has been highly politicized. So Judge Dale Ho, in appointing him, it seems sort of is really making sure he's careful about this decision. As for Paul Clement, he's a former Solicitor General of the United States. He's argued more than 100 cases before the Supreme Court.
An immaculate reputation on all sides from what we've heard. So a choice that the judge really wanted to make a statement with. All right, Alice.
And when will Adams, by the way, be back in court?
So briefs are due March 7th. If necessary, the judge said an oral argument 2 p.m. March 14th would happen. He said in light of concerns raised by parties in court the other day about Mayor Adams' responsibilities and the burden of court, all of the discovery in the case, Mayor Adams does not have to appear at future proceedings related to this. But of course, that's his right. So if he wants to, he'll be there.
You'll be there, too. Yes.
Thank you, Alice.
Thank you. And you can see the judge's complete decision and more analysis of today's decision on CBSNewYork.com.